hindi goal ng savings accounts payamanin kayo. Hindi goal ng savings accounts to beat inflation. The goal of savings accounts, the goal of time deposits is that pag kailangan nyo yung pera, nandun siya. Pag kailangan nyo yung pera, meron kayong hugutin. Pag kailangan nyo yung pera, alam nyo, madali mo siya makukuha. Tapos guaranteed, may PDIC insured, regulated na Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, and there's a lot of safeguards involved that if you need the money, it's there. Sa previous videos, pinag-usapan ko na medyo mataas yung inflation sa Pilipinas. We got around 5.4% as of May 2022. At pinag-usapan ko din doon na it's not just the Philippines yung mataas, this is something that's going on around the world. Pero, here's what's interesting. Because of that high inflation rate, madami sa inyo na nag-i-invest sa Pag Ibig Mp2 na nagtatanong na, sulit pa ba yung Pag Ibig Mp2 given na mataas yung inflation rate? So, allow me to discuss if it's worth it or not, or at least give you some parameters to be able to gauge if a certain investment is good given that inflation is actually higher. So, kung pinapanood nyo to for the first time, ano nga ba yung inflation? To make it super simple, yung inflation, yung pag-decrease ng value ng pera dahil madami yung piniprint, katulad na nangyayari sa US, na print sila ng print ng pera na pag sobrang dami yung piniprint, yung value ng current na nabibili nun, lumiliit. So that's one way to actually look at it. Or another way also to look at inflation is tumataas yung presyo ng bilihin at yung nabibili ng pera mo, nabibili ng 1,000 pesos, mas lumiliit. That being said, na-measure yung pag-akyat nun based on percentage na growth rate. As of May 2022, yung inflation rate was around 5.4%. Yung pinaka-goal sa personal finance and sa investments is basically this. Kailangan yung kinikita mo as an investment is actually making more than inflation. Kung inflation is 5.4%, sure yun na sa savings accounts that's less than 0.1%, yung kinikita na interest ay natatalo. Dapat yung kinikita mo should be more than what inflation is. So, if you are making money, for example, na time deposit ka, 1%, 2%, you're actually thinking na, okay, naglagay ako ng pera sa time deposit, kumikita ako ng 1%. In reality, hindi ka kumikita ng 1% kasi yung pera mo, lumiliit yung value because of inflation. So, given that, for example, inflation is at 5.4%, yung value talaga ng pera mo is 5.4 minus 1%. Yung 1% yung kinita mo from your time deposit, you're actually losing 4.4% on your money. At doon pumapasok lahat ng mga nakikita yung mga libro na nasulat na yung goal ng pag-i-invest ay dapat matalo yung inflation. Lalo na, you have to realize it this way that if you're investing for retirement, dapat mas malaki talaga yung kinikita mo na pera ngayon habang malakas ka pa kasi hindi mo alam kung ano yung inflation rate pagdating ng 20, 30, 40 years from now pag matanda ka na, or because prices would go up over and over and over from 2022 hanggang 2032, 2042, 2052 yung 1,000 pesos by 2052. Comment below, ano sa tingin nyo mabibili ng 1,000 pesos by 2052? Naalala ko no, nung grade 4 yata ako or grade 3, nagtry ako mag-commute and naalala ko pa yung jeepney is around 1 peso or 1.5 pesos para makasakay ng jeep. Ngayon, hindi na ganun yung presyo. If you notice it, halos umakyat na siya ng halos 8, 9, 10 times yung presyo ng jeep. Kung pumunta ka sa McDonald's, kung bata ka pa, hindi mo na ito naabutan. No? Yung spaghetti meal dati, 29 pesos. Tapos, large iced tea pa yung binibigay. Meron pang 1-piece chicken dati sa Jollibee tsaka sa McDonald's. 39 pesos, 1-piece chicken with soft drink. Hindi na ganun yung presyo ng spaghetti sa fast food chain. Hindi na rin ganun yung presyo ng fried chicken sa fast food chain because inflation. So, yung pinaka-goal nyo sa pag-invest is dapat yung investment nyo should be making more than what inflation is getting. So, that being said, hindi pa natin alam kung ano yung lalabas na dividends ng Pag-ibig for 2022 kasi yung i-release nila na dividends for 2022 would take into consideration kung ano yung kinita nila for the entire year of 2022 and it would be given out first quarter or announced first quarter of 2023. At dun mo malalaman kung magkano i-release at ibibigay nila. So, if you're gonna benchmark it based on kung ano yung binigay no 2021, I believe it's about 5.6%. So, if you would try to gauge it, yung kinita na Pag-ibig Mp2 from 2021 at release nila for 2022 is about 5.6% and inflation is at 5.4%. By a small margin, Pag Ibig Mp2 is beating inflation. Couple of variables na kailangan ma-realize ng mga tao dito is this. If inflation goes any higher and it exceeds 5.6%, then if you're trying to project kung yung Pag Ibig Mp2 mo na dividends is actually better than inflation, if it goes any higher than 5.6%, that would be the case anymore. If Pag Ibig does very well this year and then they actually earn more, then they have the ability to give more dividends, then may chance also next year na baka mas mataas yung dividends na bibigay nila. So, we'll have to see how the year will actually end. Hindi pa natin alam kung ano yung pwede nilang kitain for 2022. So, it's hard to speculate. But, keep the rule in mind, keep the principle in mind. Anytime na you try to gauge an investment, anytime na inalukan kayo ng investment, anytime na gusto nyo mag-invest sa isang asset class, you always have to look at it from a way that, is this earning more than inflation? Because if it's not earning more than inflation, edi yung pinaka-goal mo to invest for your money to grow is not actually growing because the price of goods and services, the cost to be able to live, the cost ng paggastos mo sa pang-araw-araw mas mataas pa, hindi ka actually kumikita, you're just actually either breaking even or not earning anymore from the proceeds of your money. Sinasabi ko ba na dapat huwag na kayo maglagay ng pera sa mga, for example, time deposits? Not necessary. Please do remember, yung goal ng time deposits, yung goal ng savings accounts is to give you liquidity. Yung goal ng savings accounts is that pag kailangan nyo yung pera, nandun. Hindi goal ng savings accounts payamanin kayo. Hindi goal ng savings accounts to beat inflation. The goal of savings accounts, the goal of time deposits is that pag kailangan nyo yung pera, nandun siya. Pag kailangan nyo yung pera, meron kayong hugutin. Pag kailangan nyo yung pera, alam nyo, madali mo siya makukuha. Tapos guaranteed, may PDAX insured, regulated ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, and there's a lot of safeguards involved that if you need the money, it's there. Pero pag investment na yung usapan, dapat yung perang pinaglalagyan mo, dapat yung asset class na pinaglalagyan mo should actually beat inflation. Pwede nyo rin yun gamitin kahit sa rental ng condo. No? So, computein mo, magkano ba yung kinikita mo na rent per year? Condo mo, for example, para simple na lang yung computation natin, 10 million pesos yung condo mo, tapos kinikita mo per year dun sa condo mo is 400,000 pesos. That actually means na meron kang 4% nakita from your rental. Pag binawas mo pa yung taxes, binawas mo yung binayad sa broker mo, binawas mo yung all of the other charges or all of the other expenses dun sa rent, probably you're getting less than 4%. What does that actually mean? Yung rental property mo may not be beating inflation as well. Ibang kaso naman, though pag plano mo siya ibenta tapos nag-appreciate yung value ng property at a higher price and then you plan to sell it later on, then by all intents and purposes, by the time you sell it, you can actually compute kung talagang mas malaki yung kinita niya. Yung advantage lang ng Pag Ibig Mp2, at ito gusto ko sabihin, it's tax-free. Nag-invest ka sa bonds, nag-invest ka sa time deposits, nag-invest ka sa ibang asset classes, binabawas pa yung taxes doon. So meaning, kung kumita ka ng 5% sa bond, less 20% pa yun na withholding tax, you essentially get a net of 4%. So for Pag Ibig Mp2, say you get 6% doon, sa'yo na talaga yun. And if inflation is at 5.4%, you actually are beating inflation. I think that's one of the biggest edges of Pag Ibig Mp2 na dahil tax-free siya, kuha nyo na lahat ng earnings, pasok na sa inyo, mas malaki yung chance that you beat inflation versus other assets na fixed din, na safe, na guaranteed, or na somehow predictable yung income, na meron pang tax na 10% or 20%, it somehow diminishes the returns that you would actually get. Is Pag Ibig Mp2 a good investment versus inflation? Let's see. It's early to say how high inflation will be. I don't know how inflation is. If you look at it also in other countries, yung iba 7, 8, 9, 10+%, even the US and the UK is hitting all-time high inflation figures. I don't know if this is the highest that inflation will be for the country given that gas prices are higher and the US dollar is higher. I don't know how it will be. I don't know how it will progress. I'll keep you updated also. But as long as Pag Ibig Mp2 will get a higher rate of return than the inflation rate, then it would be a very, very good scenario for you. But I'll give you more tactics and more strategies later on should inflation rates go higher, and you can go through the channel. Dami natin pinag-usapan na videos about paano nyo matatalo inflation. Secondly, kung gusto nyo malaman yung Pag-ibig, links down below. Search nyo lang marvingermo Pag Ibig Mp2. We have hundreds of videos talking about Pag-ibig to give you a snapshot also on what it is. To summarize this entire video, Pag-ibig is very good in the sense that it's tax-free. We just have to see if Pag-ibig did a very, very good job in terms of earnings this year so that the dividends will be higher, and hopefully it's something that could possibly beat inflation. But key takeaway here, every time na mag-invest kayo, always invest in an asset class that will give you a return net that's higher than inflation. It's still a better idea to invest kahit matalo ng inflation kesa gastusin nyo yung pera. So kung yung question doon is mag-i-invest ba ako, better mag-invest ka kesa gastusin nyo. Yun nga lang, it's not as efficient if inflation is beating your money. Yun lang yung gusto ko pahiwatig. So titigil ba kayo mag-invest dahil mataas yung inflation? Titigil ba kayo mag-invest kasi hindi nyo natalo yung inflation figures? The answer is no. Invest pa rin kayo. Massively double down to invest kasi yung inflation figures figures naman na yan, bababa din naman yan eh. And that's why you diversify. Meron kayong mga asset classes like Pag Ibig Mp2 na fixed, na guaranteed, na medyo may stability. May times na mataas yung inflation, baka hindi ganun kaganda yung result. Pero meron din kayo ibang asset classes like crypto or stocks that are variable, can drop, can go down a lot. Pero when inflation is high, they can give you the ability to earn higher than what inflation is. I hope madami kayo natutunan. This is Marvin Germo. And kung nag-stay din kayo up until the end, no, like, share, subscribe, and smash the bell so you get updated every time I come up with new content about investing. So that's it for now. Marvin Germo. I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon, and God bless you all.